give a warm round of applause to Ulysses Butch Slaughter.
Brother Jelani, thank you so much. Gentlemen, so that you know, I think I said this, you know, I have not done this particular lecture before, and every time I do a different lecture, when I can, I want to see what the delivery was like. Every lecture has a different kind of feel to it, it's got a different kind of tone to it. So when I'm done, I'll be able to go back and say, okay, you need to tighten up that right there, that wasn't quite that tight. You all understand what I'm saying. So I'm going to begin my lecture now. The topic of my brief lecture is called, What's Your Name? What's your name? As I begin this discourse, I want each of you to settle into the question, what's your name? I want you to internally repeat your name over and over again. Ask yourself, what's my name? And then answer the question. I'm aware that no matter how many times you ask yourself that question, the answer will probably be the same. And that's a good thing. What's your name? Whenever you get discouraged in life, whenever you have doubts or fears about your ability to succeed, you need to remind yourself of who you are. You need to simply ask yourself, what's my name? Throughout our short lives, and be very sure about this point, our lives are short. We will see our names thousands of times. Our names will be on mail, it will be on tags, it will be on bills, it will be on checks. You will write your name thousands of times. People are going to say your name thousands of times. People are going to call you over and over again by the thing that you call your name. People are going to call you and you are going to answer. But what name are you answering to? What does your name mean? And how do you express the meaning of your name? Your name is alive. I want to repeat that. Your name is alive. Your name is alive through your actions. When you look at your name will talk to you. Your name is you. Renowned psychologist Jean Piaget often talked about what he referred to as the symbolic representation of objects. Names are word symbols that represent objects that we call people. The name when written, the name when spoken, represents the life that lives behind it. What's your name? Hopefully you will love your name or you will hate your name. Hopefully you will feel something for your name. To feel nothing for your name is worse than hating it. At least when you hate it, you know you are working to change it. Hate, or what we call hate, lets you know that you are working on it. You haven't given up on a solution when you hate something. If you hate something, it does have your attention. So what's your name? The name means nothing without the response of the one who is being called by that name. The name is a one-word command. People would say that the name is a noun. I would argue that the name is also a verb. The name is a call to some kind of action. What's your name? Your name tells a story all by itself. The name represents a character. There is a reputation, there is a relationship, and there is an expectation by those who call your name, and there is a response from those who answer to that name. There's a reality that comes into being and takes on a life of its own. Once the name is accepted, once the name is embraced, once the name is soaked into your flesh, the act by the actor must be consistently carried out. Everyone has either been called the wrong name or we have called someone the wrong name at some point in our lives. Sometimes we have been called the name of someone who carries a bad reputation. Sometimes we are victims of mistaken identity. And when we are called the name that is tied to a shady character, we say something like, oh no, don't call me him. Or, oh no, don't call me her. I don't want to be associated with that name. Conversely, when we are called by one, called the name of one who is powerful, rich, or famous, we say something like this. I have his name, but I wish I had his money. It is pretty common for people to name their children after those who are viewed as successful or rich and famous. The thinking is simple. I want you to be like Denzel. I want you to be like Kanye. I want you to be like Mike. I have yet to hear of a real-life child who was named after Urkel. The name has been branded, and nobody wants to be an Urkel. But don't we hear some names that border on the ridiculous? Don't we hear names that sound like no parental thought was put into the posterity planning? The intent of the name is important. Parents should understand that naming a child is important. But parents are not perfect. And I want to be very clear about that. We need to remember that parents are not perfect. The limitations of parental authority and knowledge can be found in the writing of Khalil Gibran. The Lebanese poet wrote to parents, "Your children come through you, but not from you." I want to repeat that. Your children come through you, but not from you. I think parents should remember this truth when they prepare to name the gift that has come through them. What is your name? Your name is your purpose. Today in the world of business, there's a lot of talk about what it means to have a strong brand. Everyone here knows what we mean when we talk about name brands. Everyone here could probably call out many name brands. We can describe them. We can talk about their characteristics. We can call out Nike. We can call out McDonald's. You can call out Oprah. You can call out LeBron. They are names that have been branded in society's collective mind. Names of pomp, power, and prestige. Today, of course, is the 87th birthday of a man the world called Malcolm X. Recognized as one of the most influential black leaders of modern times, Malcolm X provides us with a great example of a man in search of his name. At birth, Malcolm was Malcolm Little. In school, he was called Mascot. On the streets of Harlem, he was called Detroit Red. In prison, he was called Satan. By enemies within the Nation of Islam, he was called Judas. And by the KKK and some colored folks, he was simply called Nigger. Malcolm X made the traditional Muslim journey to Mecca. There, he named himself El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz. He understood that one of the most important lessons we must learn is to embrace self-determination. And he, like many who came before and after him, knew self-determination begins with knowing your name. The boxer Muhammad Ali ditched Cassius Clay. Stevie Wonder ditched Stevland Hardaway Judkins. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar ditched Lou Alcindor. Meta World Peace tried to ditch Ron Artest, but Ron Artest just keeps coming back. What's in the name anyway, you ask? The answer to that question might be your destiny. I remember when and where I was the first time I was introduced to the autobiography of Malcolm X. I'm in a bookstore back in 1987, and a guy named Tarek gently passes me the book like it contained the meaning of life. "You got to read this," he said. "This dude is deep." I bought the book and I read it. Tarek was right. That dude was deep. Malcolm X. The X, as you know, represents the unknown. Malcolm didn't want the slave master's name. He didn't want to be branded like many Africans that had come before him. He wanted his own name, but since he couldn't figure it out, he decided, like others, to go with the X, the unknown. I could relate to Malcolm X because I also had a name problem. I could relate because I didn't like my brand either. Every time I said it, it made me sick to my stomach. Ulysses. As a child, I had been branded Ulysses Grant Slaughter Jr.